The Archer's Unseen Path. In the heart of a valley, cradled by ancient cedars and fed by rivers that hummed old songs, lived a young man named Kinji. From his earliest days, the bow was an extension of his arm, the string a whisper against his ear. Yet a restless ambition stirred within him, to become the greatest archer the world had ever known. Tales spoke of a reclusive Kyudo master, a sage whose arrows were said to find their mark not just in target, but in truth itself. Kinji, with the fire of youth in his spirit and the yearning for mastery in his heart, set forth. His journey was a tapestry of sun-drenched meadows, swift-flowing streams, and mountains cloaked in mist, each step a lesson in patience. Finally, nestled deep within a silent forest grove, he found the master's dwelling, a hut humble and weathered, blending seamlessly with the earth. Kinji, his knees respectful on the worn tatami mat, bowed low before the ancient figure, whose eyes held the calm depth of a still pond. "Master," Kinji began, his voice earnest, "my sole desire is to be the finest archer the world has ever known. What path, I humbly ask, must I tread to reach this summit?" The old master, his gaze unwavering, contemplated the young man's fervent plea. A silence, vast and profound, filled the small space, broken only by the distant rustle of leaves. Then, a slow smile touched the master's lips, a smile like the first light of dawn. "If such is your burning desire," he spoke, his voice a soft current, "I shall give you a task that no mortal has yet achieved. You must strike the moon with one of your arrows, for if you accomplish this, a feat unheard of, then truly your skill will transcend all others, and your name will echo through eternity as the greatest archer." A thrill surged through Kinji. The moon, a target of such impossible grandeur, yet its very impossibility ignited a fierce determination within him. He bowed again, his heart swelling with a new purpose, and returned to his village, the master's words a sacred vow. Back in his homeland, Kinji devoted himself entirely to the monumental task. He polished his yumi, the long Japanese bow, until its lacquer gleamed like a dark river. His arrows, each fletched with care, were his faithful companions. As dusk surrendered to night, and the first sliver of the moon appeared, Kinji would take his stance. He drew the string, feeling the strength of the bamboo, the precise balance of the arrow. His breath synchronized with the rhythm of the night. His mind cleared of all save the luminous orb in the sky. Thwip! The arrow cut through the air, a fleeting silhouette against the vast canvas of stars, rising, until it became indistinguishable from the cosmic dust. Night after night, Kinji launched his silent messengers. Full moon, crescent moon, waning sliver. He shot at them all. Even during the new moon, when only the barest ghost of its presence lingered, he stood, bow drawn, feeling its unseen pull, releasing his arrow into the darkness, guided by an inner sense. The villagers, once admiring, now cast wary glances. Whispers of "the moonstruck archer" and "Kinji the Mad" began to circulate like autumn leaves. Children pointed, elders shook their heads, their faces etched with pity. But Kinji heard them not. Their jests were but wind against the mountain of his resolve. His focus was absolute, his gaze fixed on the distant, unreachable target. Months turned into seasons, seasons into years. Kinji's hands, once smooth, grew calloused. His muscles, once merely strong, became tempered steel. Yet the moon remained untouched, serene in its celestial dance. A heavy sigh began to settle in Kinji's spirit. The initial fervor, though not extinguished, was tempered by the relentless futility of his quest. One crisp autumn morning, a sense of quiet despair finally led him back to the master's forest sanctuary. He knelt again, the weight of his perceived failure pressing upon him. "Master," Kinji confessed, his voice tinged with weariness, "I have failed. Thousands upon thousands of arrows I have loosed, yet not one has reached the moon. I fear I am not worthy of your task, nor of becoming the greatest archer." The old master listened, his eyes holding a knowing twinkle. When Kinji finished, the master reached out and gently clapped him on the shoulder. "On the contrary, young Kinji," he said, his voice imbued with profound wisdom. "From what you have told me, you have achieved an extraordinary triumph. It is true, none of your arrows have reached the moon. That is simply the way of things. But consider this. You have loosed so many thousands of arrows with such unyielding dedication that you have, without question, already become the greatest archer in the world." Kenji blinked, his mind struggling to grasp the revelation. But how, master?" he stammered, his confusion warring with a burgeoning sense of joy. "If not the moon, what then was your true target?" The master smiled, his gaze piercing and kind. "I did not point to the moon, Kenji," he said softly. "I pointed to you." Story 2. The Echo of the Unseen Target. The legend of Kenji, the village youth whose ambition burned brighter than the dawn, had traveled far beyond the rice paddies of his home. His heart yearned not merely for skill, but for the profound mastery of Kyudo, the way of the bow. He sought the wisdom of the renowned master Hiroki, whose dojo was whispered to be a place where arrows found not just their mark, but their very soul. Kenji's pilgrimage led him through whispering bamboo groves and over moss-covered stones, each step a meditation on his purpose, until he reached the master's secluded hermitage, veiled by ancient mists. Bowing low before the venerable Hiroki, Kenji spoke of his yearning. "Sensei," he implored, his voice imbued with youthful earnestness, "I wish to embody the way, to become the world's most peerless archer. Guide me, I beg you, on this sacred path." Master Hiroki, his eyes like ancient amber, observed the young man's eager spirit. "To become peerless," the master said, his voice a quiet ripple in the stillness, "you must achieve the impossible. Let your arrow pierce the moon. For if you alone can accomplish this feat, then none shall ever stand beside you in the annals of the way." Kenji's heart swelled with the immensity of the challenge. To shoot the moon, it was a task that transcended mere skill, demanding something more profound. He returned to his village, but his perspective had shifted. The master's words echoed not as a literal command, but as a riddle, a koan demanding deeper insight. He understood instinctively that the true target was not in the heavens, but within. Each evening, as twilight painted the sky, Kenji would seek out his private dojo, a clearing in the quiet forest, where the cedars stood as silent sentinels. He would prepare his yumi, its curves reflecting the faint starlight, his mind sinking into a state of profound stillness. Mushin. He focused not on the moon, but on the precise, fluid movements of the shot, the drawing of the bow, kai, the holding of the stance, hikiwake, the release, hanare. Each movement was a breath, each breath a moment of complete presence. The arrow, once merely a projectile, became an extension of his spirit, released with zanshin, a lingering awareness that extended beyond the shot itself. Villagers, observing his solitary vigil, shook their heads. They saw a young man possessed by a fruitless obsession, forever aiming at an impossible goal. "He aims for the moon," they scoffed, "but misses the earth." Their words, like pebbles dropped into a deep well, barely stirred the surface of Kenji's resolve. He no longer aimed at the moon, but through the moon, using it as a focal point for an inward journey. The wind, the chill, the doubts, even the occasional errant shot, they were all just fleeting phenomena, unable to disturb the calm waters of his focused mind. He understood that the perfection was not in the hit, but in the practice itself, the unwavering commitment to the form, the spirit, the way. Years flowed like the mountain streams. Kenji's frame grew leaner, his movements more precise, his spirit more serene. He had loosed countless thousands of arrows, each a testament to his dedication. Yet the moon, distant and ethereal, remained untouched. A quiet melancholy, not of despair but of persistent effort, began to settle upon him. He had striven with every fiber of his being, yet the ultimate, impossible objective eluded him. He felt compelled to return to Master Hiroki, not with a plea for mercy, but with an honest confession of his perceived failure. Again, Kenji knelt before the master, the scent of earth and old wood filling the air. "Sensei," he began, his voice humble, I have pursued your task with all my heart. Thousands of arrows have flown from my bow, but not one has reached the celestial orb. I have failed to strike the moon. Master Hiroki's eyes twinkled with a knowing light. He placed a gentle hand on Kenji's shoulder, his touch radiating warmth and wisdom. Failed, young Kenji? The master said, a soft chuckle escaping his lips. On the contrary, you have surpassed every expectation. Your arrows have indeed not reached the moon. That was never their true destination. But in the ceaseless, unwavering dedication you poured into each shot, in the machine of your practice, in the mastery of your own spirit, you have truly loosed so many thousands of arrows that you have, beyond any doubt, become the world's finest archer. Kenji's eyes widened, a wave of profound understanding washing over him. But sensei, he whispered, if not the moon, then what was the true target of your wisdom? The old master smiled, his gaze filled with the ancient wisdom of the way. I pointed to the moon, Kenji, he said, his voice a gentle breeze. But the true target all along was the essence of you. Story 3. The Path Reflected. In a realm where the whisper of wind through ancient pines carried the wisdom of ages, lived a young man named Ren. His spirit was consumed by a singular fiery aspiration to master the art of Kyudo, the way of the bow, to such a degree that his name would become synonymous with perfection itself. He heard tales of the venerable Master Akira, whose insights were said to pierce the veil of illusion, guiding disciples not merely to skill, but to enlightenment. Driven by this ardent desire, Ren embarked on a long, solitary journey, his heart a compass pointing to the master's hidden hermitage. After days of traversing rugged peaks and serene valleys, he found the master in a dwelling that was less a structure and more an extension of the forest floor, a testament to simplicity and harmony. Ren knelt before the aged sage, his voice tremulous with reverence. Master, he pleaded, I seek to become the greatest archer in all the lands. What sacred wisdom can you bestow upon me to achieve this? Master Akira, his eyes like pools of calm, ancient wisdom, regarded the fervent youth. A moment of profound silence passed, broken only by the distant caw of a crow. Then the master spoke, his voice like the gentle rustle of leaves. Your ambition is noble, young one. To truly claim such a title, you must accomplish a feat beyond human grasp. You must pierce the moon with your arrow. For if you alone achieve this impossibility, then your mastery will be unsurpassed, and your name etched into the very fabric of existence. Ren's heart soared with exhilaration. The moon, a target so grand, so elusive, yet its very challenge, ignited a boundless passion within him. He bowed deeply, his spirit afire, and returned to his village, the master's words a sacred decree. He envisioned himself under the celestial sphere, his bow a bridge between earth and sky. From that day forth, Ren's life became a ceaseless ritual of practice. His yumi, crafted from fine bamboo, hummed with anticipation in his grasp. His arrows, each a slender shaft of intention, waited patiently in their quiver. Night after night, as the moon ascended, a luminous pearl in the velvet sky, Ren would take his stance. He breathed not just air, but the very essence of the moment. His focus sharpened, the world around him fading into a soft blur. He pulled the string, feeling the exquisite tension, his mind clearing, becoming a void, mushin, a canvas upon which only the moon existed. Whoosh! The arrow ascended, a fleeting thought against the eternal expanse, climbing, striving, yet always falling short, swallowed by the infinite distance. The villagers, their simple routines undisturbed by cosmic aspirations, began to regard Ren with a mixture of pity and ridicule. He chases shadows, they muttered. He's lost his mind, aiming at the heavens. Their laughter and their whispers, however, were but faint echoes in the vast chamber of Ren's concentration. He did not hear them, for his ears were tuned to the rhythm of his own breath, the subtle creak of his bow, the silent flight of his arrows. He shot not for glory, but for the act of shooting itself, finding a deep, abiding peace in the relentless pursuit of the impossible. The moon, once a literal target, transformed into a symbol, a beacon of unyielding dedication, a mirror reflecting his own deepening focus. Seasons passed like pages turning in an ancient book. Ren's body, once merely agile, became a conduit of effortless power. His mind, once prone to distraction, achieved an unparalleled clarity. Yet the moon, serene and remote, remained untouched. A quiet resignation settled within him, a sense of an endless journey. He had given his all, yet the celestial goal remained forever out of reach. With a heavy, yet strangely peaceful heart, he journeyed once more to Master Akira's humble abode to share the truth of his persistent, unfulfilled quest. He knelt, his spirit humbled, before the master. Master Akira, Ren confessed, his voice a soft murmur. I have failed. Countless arrows have left my bow, yet not one has reached the moon. I have striven with all my being, but the task remains impossible. The old master smiled, his gaze holding the profound peace of a timeless sage. He reached out and gently patted Ren's shoulder. My dear Ren, the master said, his voice a gentle balm. You speak not of failure, but of an extraordinary triumph. Of course, your arrows have not reached the moon. That was never their destiny. But consider this. In the disciplined unleashing of thousands upon thousands of arrows, with such unwavering dedication and clarity of purpose, you have, without a shadow of a doubt, transcended all others to become the greatest archer in the world. Ren gasped, his eyes widening with a sudden profound realization. But master, he stammered, a joyous confusion bubbling within him. If not the moon, then what was your true instruction? Master Akira's smile deepened, encompassing the wisdom of the ages. I pointed to the moon, young Ren, he said, his voice a clear chime. But the true target was always the infinite potential within you. The archer's inner sun. In a land where ancient traditions whispered through bamboo forests, and the spirit of the warrior was intertwined with the soul's quietude, lived a young man named Arata. His heart, a vibrant drumbeat, pulsed with the dream of becoming the supreme archer, a master of the Kyudo way. He had heard tales of Master Kageyama, whose wisdom was said to be as deep as the ocean and as clear as a mountain spring. With the zeal of youth and the purity of purpose, Arata set forth on a pilgrimage, his spirit alight with anticipation. His journey wove through valleys adorned with cherry blossoms and over mountains crowned with mist, each step bringing him closer to the elusive sage. Finally, nestled within a grove of silent ancient trees, he discovered the master's humble abode, a sanctuary of peace. Kneeling reverently before the venerable figure, whose eyes held the serene wisdom of countless dawns, Arata spoke his earnest plea. Venerated master, he began, his voice imbued with profound respect. My life's desire is to transcend all others in the art of the bow. What trials must I undertake? What truths must I embrace to achieve this pinnacle of mastery? Master Kageyama, his gaze gentle yet piercing, considered Arata's words. A quiet moment unfolded, filled only by the gentle sigh of the wind through the leaves. Then, with a slow, deliberate smile that seemed to illuminate the very air, the master replied, To ascend to such a lofty height, young Arata, you must accomplish a feat that no mortal has ever conceived. You must strike the moon with one of your arrows. For if you alone achieve this impossible aim, then truly your skill will know no equal, and your legend will shine eternal, brighter than any star. A surge of awe and determination coursed through Arata's veins. The moon, a celestial target, vast and distant, yet its very impossibility stirred a fierce resolve within his soul. He bowed once more, his heart swelling with a newfound purpose, and returned to his village, the master's words echoing within him like a sacred chant. Back in the familiar rhythms of his home, Arata devoted himself entirely to the monumental task. He tended to his Yumi, polishing its dark wood until it reflected the sky itself, and meticulously fletched his arrows, each one a winged prayer. As dusk deepened into night, and the luminous orb of the moon graced the heavens, Arata would take his stance. He drew the bowstring, feeling the taut strength, his breath aligning with the silent rhythm of the cosmos. His mind emptied of all distraction, focusing solely on the distant ethereal glow. Fsht! The arrow cleaved the air, a fleeting silhouette against the vast canvas of stars, ascending, until it became an imperceptible whisper, swallowed by the infinite distance. Night after night, Arata launched his silent messengers, be it the full moon, a luminous pearl, or a slender crescent. A silver thread, he never wavered. Even during the new moon, when only a spectral presence hinted at its existence, he stood, bow drawn, releasing his arrows into the deep embrace of the darkness, guided by an unwavering inner vision. The villagers, once respectful, now began to murmur. Whispers of Arata the Moon Chaser and the Mad Archer spread like wildfire through the small community. They watched him with pity, their glances filled with apprehension. But Arata heard them not. Their jests were but fleeting clouds against the blazing sun of his dedication. His focus was absolute, his gaze fixed on the unreachable yet ever-present target. Years flowed like the mountain streams. Arata's hands, once merely strong, became calloused and wise. His movements, once deliberate, now flowed with an effortless grace. Yet the moon, serene in its celestial ballet, remained untouched. A quiet weariness, not of despair but of persistent, unyielding effort, began to settle in Arata's spirit. He had striven with every fiber of his being, yet the ultimate, impossible objective eluded him. He felt compelled to return to Master Kageyama, not with a plea for mercy, but with an honest confession of his perceived failure. Again, Arata knelt before the master, the scent of pine and aged wisdom filling the tranquil air. "Master Kageyama," Arata confessed, his voice tinged with the weight of his perceived shortcoming. "I have given my all. Thousands upon thousands of arrows I have loosed, yet not one has reached the moon. I fear I have failed to fulfill your sacred task." Master Kageyama listened, his eyes holding a profound, knowing light. When Arata finished, the master reached out and gently clapped him on the shoulder. "On the contrary, young Arata," he said, his voice imbued with a soft, profound wisdom. "From what you have told me, you have achieved a victory far greater than any you could imagine. It is true, none of your arrows have touched the moon. That is simply the way of the physical world. But consider this. You have loosed so many thousands of arrows, with such unwavering focus, such relentless dedication, that you have, without question, already become the greatest archer in the world." Arata blinked, his mind struggling to grasp the revelation, a wave of profound understanding slowly washing over him. But how, master?" he stammered, his confusion warring with a burgeoning sense of joy. "If not the moon, what then was your true target?" The master smiled, his gaze piercing and kind, reflecting the very light of understanding. "I did not point to the moon, Arata," he said softly. "I pointed to the blazing sun of the spirit within you." Story 5. The Whisper of the Bow. In a secluded village, nestled amidst mountains that touched the clouds and rivers that sang ancient lullabies, lived a young man named Hiroshi. His life's single burning desire was to become the finest archer the world had ever seen, a true embodiment of the profound Kyudo art. Legends spoke of the enigmatic Master Takeo, whose wisdom flowed like the deepest river, and whose every arrow was said to carry the weight of ages. Hiroshi, fueled by youthful ambition and a yearning for ultimate skill, embarked on his journey. His path led him through silent forests, where deer grazed peacefully, and across sun-drenched plains, each step a step closer to his destiny. At last, hidden deep within a tranquil grove, he found the master's dwelling, a modest hut, almost unseen amidst the natural splendor. Kneeling respectfully before the venerable master, whose eyes held the calm stillness of a boundless sky, Hiroshi poured out his heart. "Master Takeo," he humbly stated, his voice trembling with sincerity, "my aspiration is to achieve unparalleled mastery with the bow. What guidance, I implore you, must I follow to reach this zenith of skill?" Master Takeo, his face a landscape of weathered wisdom, contemplated Hiroshi's fervent plea. A profound silence settled, broken only by the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. Then, with a slow, deliberate nod, the master spoke, his voice a quiet ripple across the stillness. "If your ambition is truly to be without peer," he said, his words measured and resonant, "I shall set before you a task of unimaginable scope. You must strike the moon with one of your arrows. For if you alone achieve this impossible feat, then your skill will transcend all mortal bounds, and your name shall forever be etched into the fabric of history as the greatest archer." A thrill, cold and exhilarating, ran through Hiroshi. The moon, a target so grand, so remote, yet its sheer impossibility ignited a fervent, unyielding determination within his very soul. He bowed again, his heart swelling with a new, formidable purpose, and returned to his village, the master's words echoing within him like a sacred decree. Back in the familiar embrace of his home, Hiroshi dedicated himself utterly to the formidable task. He meticulously cared for his Yumi, its polished surface reflecting the silent beauty of the night, and selected his arrows with a reverence that bordered on devotion. Each evening, as the last vestiges of sunlight faded and the moon ascended, a luminous pearl in the velvet tapestry of the heavens, Hiroshi would assume his stance. He drew the bowstring, feeling the ancient power of the wood, his breath deep and even, his mind clearing to an almost ethereal state of focused awareness. Singa, the arrow sliced through the air, a fleeting shadow against the cosmic expanse, rising, striving, until it merged with the boundless darkness, an unseen, unheard whisper. Night after night, Hiroshi launched his silent messengers. Whether the moon hung full and bright, a benevolent eye, or appeared as a slender sliver, a silver thread of light, he practiced relentlessly. Even during the new moon, when its form was but a phantom presence, he stood, bow drawn, releasing his arrows into the unseen, guided by an absolute inner conviction. The villagers, once admiring, now cast uneasy glances. Whispers of "Hiroshi the lunatic" and "the moonstruck fool" began to circulate like a cold wind through the community. They watched him with a mixture of pity and bewilderment, convinced he had lost his mind. But Hiroshi heard them not. Their derision was but a faint hum against the roaring silence of his absolute concentration. His focus was unyielding, his gaze fixed on the distant, unattainable target, which had long since ceased to be merely physical. Years unfurled like scrolls of ancient silk. Hiroshi's hands, once merely strong, became extensions of his will. His movements, once precise, now flowed with an almost liquid grace, yet the moon, serene and eternally distant, remained untouched. A quiet, persistent ache, not of despair but of profound, unceasing effort, began to settle within Hiroshi's spirit. He had given his all, yet the celestial goal remained forever out of reach. With a heavy, yet oddly peaceful heart, he journeyed once more to Master Takeo's tranquil abode, compelled to convey the truth of his relentless, unfulfilled quest. He knelt again, his spirit humbled before the master. "Master Takeo," Hiroshi confessed, his voice a soft, weary murmur. "I have pursued your task with every fiber of my being. Thousands of arrows have flown from my bow, yet not one has reached the moon. I have striven, but the task remains impossible." Master Takeo listened, his eyes holding the tranquil wisdom of the ages. When Hiroshi finished, the master reached out and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "My dear Hiroshi," the master said, his voice a gentle, profound balm, "you speak not of failure, but of an extraordinary triumph. Of course, your arrows have not reached the moon. That was never their true purpose. But consider this. In the disciplined unleashing of countless thousands of arrows, with such unwavering dedication and clarity of purpose, you have, without a shadow of a doubt, transcended all others to become the greatest archer in the world." Hiroshi gasped, his eyes widening with a sudden, profound realization, a wave of joy and clarity washing over him. "But master," he stammered, his mind reeling with the revelation, "if not the moon, then what was the true target of your instruction?" Master Takeo's smile deepened, encompassing the wisdom of the universe. I pointed to the moon. Young Hiroshi, he said, his voice a clear, resonant chime. But the true target was always the whisper of the way, the profound essence within you. Story 6. The Way of No Path. In a land steeped in the ancient art of Kyudo, where the harmony of body and spirit was paramount, lived a young man named Sora. His heart burned with an unquenchable desire to become the preeminent archer, a living legend. He had heard whispers of the elusive Master Ryu, whose wisdom was said to be as boundless as the sky and as deep as the earth's core. With the vibrant energy of youth and the unwavering focus of true purpose, Sora began his sacred journey. His path led him across vast, silent plains, through misty valleys, and over craggy peaks, each step a meditation on his ultimate goal. Finally, nestled within a sacred grove, where ancient trees stood as silent sentinels, he found the Master's dwelling, a structure of profound simplicity, almost at one with the earth. Kneeling respectfully before the venerable Ryu, whose eyes held the serene depth of an ancient forest, Sora humbly presented his aspiration. "Revered Master," Sora began, his voice earnest and full of longing, "my fervent wish is to attain the highest echelon of archery. What path, I humbly ask, must I traverse to reach this supreme mastery?" Master Ryu, his gaze unwavering, contemplated Sora's profound request. A long, hushed silence settled over them, broken only by the distant call of a mountain bird. Then, with a slow, knowing smile that seemed to illuminate the very air around them, the Master spoke, his voice like the gentle flow of a timeless stream. "To truly become peerless," he pronounced, his words measured and deliberate, "you must achieve a feat that lies beyond the realm of human possibility. You must strike the moon with one of your arrows. For if you alone accomplish this impossibility, then your skill will transcend all understanding, and your name shall be remembered for all eternity as the greatest archer." A profound thrill, both daunting and exhilarating, coursed through Sora. The moon, a target of such impossible grandeur, yet its very impossibility ignited an indomitable will within him. He bowed again, his heart swelling with a fierce new determination, and returned to his village, the Master's words echoing within him like a sacred vow, a blueprint for an unimaginable quest. Back in the familiar rhythms of his daily life, Sora dedicated himself entirely to the monumental task. He meticulously prepared his Yumi, its polished surface gleamed under the moon's silent gaze, and carefully selected his arrows, each one a testament to his unwavering commitment. As dusk deepened into night, and the luminous orb of the moon ascended into the vast velvet sky, Sora would take his chosen stance. He drew the bowstring, feeling the profound tension, his breath synchronizing with the silent cosmic rhythm. His mind emptied, becoming a vessel for pure focus. Mushin, an undiluted awareness of the distant ethereal glow. Swish, the arrow cut through the cool night air, a fleeting silhouette against the boundless tapestry of stars, rising, soaring, until it became an imperceptible whisper, swallowed by the infinite distance. Night after night, Sora launched his silent messengers, be it the full moon, a luminous beacon, or a slender crescent. A silver sliver he practiced relentlessly. Even during the new moon, when only a spectral presence hinted at its existence, he stood, bow drawn, releasing his arrows into the deep embrace of the darkness, guided by an unshakable inner vision. The villagers, once respectful, now began to murmur with suspicion. Whispers of Sora the Mad and the lunatic archer began to spread like a cold fog through the community. They watched him with pity, convinced he had succumbed to a baseless obsession. But Sora heard them not. Their jests were but fleeting shadows against the unyielding sunlight of his dedication. His focus was absolute, his gaze fixed on the unreachable, yet ever-present target, which had long ceased to be merely physical. Years flowed like the mountain streams, each one deepening the lines of wisdom on Sora's face and strengthening the resolve in his spirit. Sora's hands, once merely strong, became instruments of effortless power. His movements, once precise, now flowed with an almost spiritual grace. Yet the moon, serene and eternally remote, remained untouched. A quiet sense of perseverance, not of despair but of profound, unceasing effort, began to settle within Sora's spirit. He had given his all, yet the celestial goal remained forever out of reach. With a heavy yet oddly peaceful heart, he journeyed once more to Master Ryu's tranquil abode, compelled to convey the truth of his persistent, unfulfilled quest. He knelt again, his spirit humbled, before the Master. "Master Ryu," Sora confessed, his voice a soft, weary murmur. "I have pursued your task with every fiber of my being. Thousands of arrows have flown from my bow, yet not one has reached the moon. I have striven, but the task remains impossible." Master Ryu listened, his eyes holding the tranquil wisdom of the ages. When Sora finished, the Master reached out and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "My dear Sora," the Master said, his voice a gentle, profound balm, "you speak not of failure, but of an extraordinary triumph. Of course, your arrows have not reached the moon. That was never their true destination. But consider this. In the disciplined unleashing of countless thousands of arrows, with such unwavering dedication and clarity of purpose, you have, without a shadow of a doubt, transcended all others to become the greatest archer in the world." Sora gasped, his eyes widening with a sudden, profound realization, a wave of joy and clarity washing over him. "But Master," he stammered, his mind reeling with the revelation, "if not the moon, then what was the true target of your instruction?" Master Ryu's smile deepened, encompassing the wisdom of the universe. "I pointed to the moon, young Sora," he said, his voice a clear, resonant chime. "But the true target was always the infinite potential of the way, the path of self-discovery within you.